So yesterday, the Kids Act passed the House of Representatives in an overwhelming majority vote, with 267 people voting in favor of it, with 117 people voting against it, and a surprising 40 people didn't even vote, and this is all according to an article from The Hill. But now that the bill has passed the House of Representatives, it has now made its way to the Senate, where it will be voted on in some later date, I don't know when. But this is obviously fucking horrible, as the fact that this bill even made its way through the House is kind of baffling to me. But then again, our Congress, our government in general, is so fucking out of touch with what Americans want. It is astounding. So on one hand, it doesn't really surprise me, but on the other hand, it is really scary that this bill is currently making its way up through our government, as this bill is a Trojan horse, because on the surface it seems great, you know, it wants to make the internet a safer place for kids, but spoiler alert, that is not what this is about at all, but I'll get into that later on. Anyway, the Kids Act is not one individual act or bill. It's comprised of 17 different bills, and I'm only going to focus on one of them, that being the Kids Online Safety Act, or KOSA, which I'm going to be calling it for the rest of the video because Kids Online Safety Act is a huge mouthful. And I'm mainly focusing on that bill because one, it's the one I'm most familiar with, and two, it really goes to show what Congress or the government aims to do with the Kids Act, as KOSA is a bill which, according to Congress themselves, will require online messaging platforms like video games, messaging applications, social media, even video streaming services, to implement security features to protect users under the age of 17. And these security features include protection for minors' data, tools for parents of minors such as access to the minor's privacy settings, and a mechanism for account holders and visitors to report harm to minors on the platform. Covered platforms are prohibited from conducting market or product research on children under the age of 13 and may only conduct research on those under the age of 17 with parental consent. The bill also requires online platforms to meet certain requirements before using algorithms that select, order, or prioritize information presented to users based on user-specific data not provided for that purpose. Specifically, such platforms must 1. Provide users with notice of use of such algorithms, and 2. Permit users to switch to an algorithm that does not rely on user-specific data. Now, on the surface, this sounds great, you know, the government wants to make the internet safer for kids, but if you think about this for more than like 20 seconds, you're gonna ask yourself, how the hell are they gonna verify that users are children? As they can't really just give them a prompt and ask them to input their age with no way of actually verifying it, because anybody can just lie on that. Well, if this bill does get signed into law, they are going to research and try and create like the optimal age verification system. As in section 107 of the bill, the Secretary of Commerce, in coordination with the Federal Communications Commission and the Federal Trade Commission, shall conduct a study evaluating the most technologically feasible methods and options for developing systems to verify age at the device or operating system level. And this section goes on to explain that the study is going to consider things like the benefits of creating an age verification system, what information they're going to have to collect, whether it be a state or government ID, a driver's license, or hell, maybe even like a fucking birth certificate, I don't know, how a system could verify that information without putting user privacy data at risk so you know it doesn't get hacked, how exactly they're going to do that, whether they're going to have to implement hardware or software into the systems to make it required to verify age, or how these age verification systems are going to impact competition and possibly damage or benefit smaller companies. So while age verification may not be passed right away, they are going to research it and they are going to try and create the optimal age verification system that they may not just put on online platforms, but they're also going to put it in operating systems, and they're going to put it inside computers. And this is fucking horrible. This is where the true terror of this bill and the Kids Act in general, I'm sure there's like a whole lot more scary stuff tucked away in those 17 different bills, but I do not have the time to go over all of that, otherwise we would be here all day. But what I just talked about is a terrible fucking idea, because I do not trust Windows or Instagram or Twitter or any other fucking platform on the internet or any operating system with my government ID. I do not trust it, and I have every right to not trust it, because these platforms are not that secure. IDs and personal information and data get leaked all the time. Like literally recently, Discord had a massive hack where 70,000 IDs got leaked online, and now that information is just floating about. And the same thing is going to happen if they start implementing age verification verification on a massive scale all over the internet. And a lot of popular websites online are American based. Companies like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Google, they are all based in America. So imagine being in like some other country and needing to upload your ID just to be able to access fucking Google or look up a YouTube video. And on top of that, that sensitive information is definitely not going anywhere, because while these companies will claim that they delete the data and they don't really do anything with it, they're lying. They are lying straight through their damn teeth, as they are definitely keeping that data somewhere and storing it, if not outright selling it to other companies. And like I said earlier, there's also the possibility that those websites are going to get hacked and your information that you uploaded, your government ID, your driver's license, or whatever identification you use, is just going to be out there on the internet ready for any hacker or anyone with ill intentions to look up and do whatever they want with. Now, I think the true intentions by this bill, and this is something that I talked about in my previous internet video in which I talked about the UK's Online Safety Act, the goal behind the Kids Act and all the other bills that are tucked away into it is just government control and surveillance. That's literally all it is. They want to control and censor as much of the internet as they can possibly get their grubby little hands on, and they are trying to restrict what you are going to be able to see online, because this bill is obviously not just going to impact children, it is going to impact everybody that even remotely uses the internet. Like, you're gonna have to verify your ID so many times, and it's just gonna be sitting in like some fucking hard drive on these social media companies that they're either storing away or just outright selling, because user data is pretty much the modern day version of gold, at least to these big tech companies. They sell that shit like hotcakes. But anyway, with you constantly needing to upload your ID anywhere, it's gonna make it to where the government can more easily track what websites you visit, when you visit them, do you have an account, what do you say, what do you do on these websites, etc. And that's what I think the whole purpose behind this bill is, aside from obvious surveillance and censorship and just overall more control. I think another thing that they're trying to do is they're trying to make it easier to track who exactly is saying what online. Now, while yeah, you can make the argument that the government can already do that, it's not that hard for them to pull up anyone's information on the internet, that probably takes a lot more work than them just asking social media companies, hey, give us the information of this person. And since you had to upload your government ID to use the website can just be like, all right, here you go, and boom, they have all of your information right there. And the reason why I think they're doing this is because people are now openly speaking up about and are being very critical, to put it lightly, about things like Israel and ICE and corporations and billionaires, etc. And while yeah, we do have freedom of speech and we're allowed to criticize our government and other things that we don't like, the government wants to be able to more easily track who exactly is saying what, like I said earlier. And if the Kids Act becomes law, it's going to be much easier for the government to not only restrict what you see, but also easily monitor what you do. And it's not even really that far-fetched to say this, because back in February, it came out that the Department of Homeland Security was asking Google, Meta, and other companies to give them the information of users that were openly against and critical of ICE. Now, I don't know if these companies actually gave them that information. I hope they didn't, because, you know, we're allowed to be critical of our government. But the fact that they did it in the first place is really fucking scary. And now that these internet laws are possibly going to come into effect, where you're gonna have to upload your ID and have it stored in these fucking social media companies as hard drives or something, is gonna be a hell of a lot easier to track who is saying what online. This combined with the fact that they're gonna try and fight like hell to restrict what you see on the internet, and they're gonna claim that they're doing this because, oh, we're just trying to restrict what children are able to see online, you know, we're trying to protect them from harmful content. And the harmful content is just articles talking about the horrific acts that Israel is committing in Gaza and Lebanon. They're just trying to further along the fucking surveillance state, especially with flock cameras popping up all over the country, the government passing a law that requires cars starting in 2027 to have like I forget what it was. It was basically technology to try and detect if you're like impaired, whether you're like drunk or tired. And even if you show like the slightest sign that you're drunk or impaired or not even really paying attention, like say you get distracted by a fucking bird or something, you will not be able to start your car. And if your car is already moving, then it's going to limit how fast the car can go. We are moving so fast towards a fucking surveillance state that it's not even funny. The United States at this point is becoming what they told us China was back in grade school. But I hope to God that this bill doesn't pass, because if it does, because all it is really is just one more step towards a total surveillance state. And if you're still watching this video, which first of all, thank you, but if you're still watching this video and you're wondering what it is you can do to prevent the KIDS Act from passing the Senate, then all you gotta do is call and or email your representatives. Let them know that you are not okay with this bill passing. The KIDS Act has failed to pass the Senate before, and goddammit, we can make it so that way it fails to pass the Senate again, but we all gotta band together and let our senators know that we are not okay with this bill becoming law. So call and or email your representatives as much as you possibly can. And that's gonna do it for the video. Thank you for watching, and yeah, peace.